Shua Tov, everyone. Welcome to week number 77 in our Tillis Tells WhatsApp Saturday Night Stories group. I translated this story from Sichat Shavua and Sapuri Chassidim. Subsequently, I included it in my third book, By the Light of the Full Moon, and I titled it, Think Before You Speak. Rev Zev Wolf Kitzis was well known as the highest level Torah scholar and also well known for being extremely meticulous in all areas of mitzvah observance. He held the position of Av Beis Din, meaning head of the rabbinical court, in the town of Mezibouj, but this was before the Baal Shem Tov settled there. When the Baal Shem Tov moved in, Reb Wolf's initial reaction was one of great opposition, but he soon became one of his most important followers. He is buried in Mezibouj, immediately to the right of the Baal Shem Tov. Reb Zev Wolf Kitzis, later in his life, came to say goodbye to his master, the Baal Shem Tov. It was both a sad and happy moment. To separate from the Baal Shem Tov was very difficult, but the joyful reason was that he was leaving for the Holy Land, making Aliyah. The Baal Shem Tov spoke to him seriously. You should keep in mind that everything that happens in life, whether seemingly significant or not, is part of the divine plan. So in every situation, it is important to think first before acting or even speaking. And if you should encounter someone on the way and should ask you something, be sure to think carefully before answering him. Early Friday morning, after 2 weeks at sea, with a good part of the journey yet ahead, the ship pulled into a small port on a tiny uninhabited island for a short stop to pick up supplies. The passengers disembarked to stretch their legs and break the monotony of the long voyage. The peaceful solitude and striking scenery stirred in Reb Wolf powerful emotions and appreciation of the beauty of God's creation. Adorned in talis and tefillin, he stood in a secluded, idyllic spot, absorbed in his morning prayer. Now, when we say Reb Wolf was absorbed in prayer, it means just that, absolute, total involvement. Nothing could break into his concentration, not even the ship's horn and the call of the captain and the sailors for all the passengers to return aboard. When he finally finished, he looked up, but instead of the ship on the dock, all he could see was a shrinking dot on the horizon. Realizing the desperateness of his situation, he began to explore the island, hoping to find signs of human civilization. Baal Shem, blessed be God, he thought, at least he had his talis and tefillin with him. He certainly did not expect to find another Jew in this tiny speck of the ocean, so what would he do about the upcoming Shabbat? Late in the afternoon, he noticed a wispy column of smoke rising over the trees. He excitedly walked towards this beacon of hope and finally came upon a small house tucked into the slope of a steep mountain. He knocked on the door several times, and after a long while it swung open. A distinguished elderly man appeared. He had a distinctive Jewish look. He greeted Rev Wolf warmly and calmed his fears. "Don't worry," he said. "There will be another ship heading for Eretz Israel in a few days." He explained that although very few people lived on the island, it was part of the Turkish Empire and used mainly as a shopping place and supply depot for passing ships. "Meanwhile," he said, the Shabbat approaches. Let's prepare and enjoy it together." The man was clearly learned in Torah and observance of the commandments, and it was a pleasure to converse with him. But every attempt by Reb Wolf to find out some details of his host's life was rebuffed by a mysterious smile, a shrug, or a change of subject. Nevertheless, the Shabbat was a true delight, with most of the time spent in prayer and Torah study. Sunday morning, another ship arrived, and since it was going in the right direction, Reb Wolf arranged to continue his voyage on it. His host came to see him off. As he set foot on the ramp to go up to the ship, the man said to him, "By the way, seeing as you passed through Russia and Poland on your way here, perhaps you can tell me briefly, how is life for the Jews there?" "Life for the Jews there?" repeated Rev Wolf, preoccupied with his boarding. "Baruch Hashem, they live day by day. Thanks be to God, for he is good. Hodul Hashem ki tov, and his mercy is everlasting." He answered simply, straightforward. As the ship pulled anchor and edged its way out to the ocean's deep waters, Reb Wolf continued to stare at the vanishing features of his distinguished host. Suddenly a thought crashed into his reverie. Perhaps that last question he asked me is what the Baal Shem Tov had in mind when he cautioned me? With a sinking feeling, he realized his pious response did not measure up to his master's instructions. His apprehension grew. At the next stop, he decided to disembark and to return home without even reaching the Holy Land. He had to apologize to the Baal Shem Tov and find out from him how to rectify the matter. A few weeks later, a dismayed and humble Zev Wolf presented himself with foreboding before his Rebbe. The Baal Shem Tov asked for a detailed report of his voyage. When he got to his final conversation with the mysterious man on the island, the Baal Shem Tov seemed to be hanging on every word. "Stop," he cried out. "Enough! Such a great opportunity reared its head to you and you let it go by." 2 tears rolled down the Tzaddik's cheeks. Reb Wolf shuddered in remorse and fear. "I came back as quickly as possible in order to fix whatever damage I caused," he choked out. The Baal Shem Tov dismissed his plea with a wave of his hand. "There is nothing for you to do. You already paid for your mistake by giving up your voyage to Israel in order to return here. I'll explain it all to you," he continued. "Our forefather Abraham complained sharply to the one above about the long duration of the bitter exile. The Holy One, blessed be He, answered him that the situation of the Jews is not so bad as he implied. To clarify the matter, it was decided to have Abraham, our forefather, meet with an honest Jew, someone who had never altered a false word in his entire life. You, my friend, merited to spend the Shabbos with Abraham Avinu, the patriarch Abraham himself. But when he asked you about the welfare of the Jews, you should have answered that we are suffering heavily in our outcasts, and that we all desperately look forward to our complete redemption. Instead, you automatically answered, everything is fine, Baruch Hashem. Now we have to remain sunk in our exile even longer," sighed the Baal Shem Tov. "May it end soon."